Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today they have just announced the 2025 Pokemon Championship Series, aka what the format is going to be come the 2025 season, and we need to discuss because there is a lot to unpack here, and I'm going to go through this to the best of my ability. Once again, if you guys want to follow along or read up for yourselves afterwards, this link will be down in the description down below, excuse me. But other than that, guys, there is a ton. Some good things, some bad things. I don't tough to call things bad just yet, but things I definitely don't really like seeing. But overall, we'll talk about them. I'll break it all down for you guys, and we can discuss in the comments as we always do. Anyways, first story first. Let's look at the qualification. This is a massive overhaul to the qualification system, and I knew, or I had a feeling, something like this was going to happen, unfortunately. And it's kind of sad to see, right? When I would have rather they raised the CP bar. Like, I would have rather them said you need a higher championship bar. If you are a VGC player, you are looking at this second list right here. I don't know why I highlighted it all, but this second list here. And it's really sad to see. We now have a total of 75 Masters from US and Canada. That is my rating zone, so that's kind of where I'm going to leverage most of my info here. But 75 Masters from the US and Canada advancing to the World Championships as opposed to just hitting a certain bar. So last year, if you hit 500 championship points, you qualified for Worlds. That amounted to 200 North American invites, and I get it. They want Worlds to be a commitment. They want Worlds to be a little bit more exclusive. I knew they were going to do something. I expected them to raise the championship point bar. Okay? I just straight up expected them to raise the point bar and say, you know what, we're good there. It'll limit the amount of invites we get. Something similar will happen, or just lower the amount of points you got. Instead, they decided to say only 75 US and Canada players can make Worlds. And I don't hate the change. I think it does focus on a lot more commitment to the players. My big concern is it focuses on a lot more commitment to the players, right? I like the concept that, you know, a player's got to be committed to get to Worlds. Now, granted, a player had to be committed to get to Worlds before. I don't hate the concept of, you know, a hard lock here. The problem is there's no taking breaks anymore. Now, guys, I haven't played a circuit in this format yet, so I could be just spewing, but these are my initial thoughts. I don't think you're going to be able to take a break. I think you are going to have to grind for your invite throughout the entire season, which is fine. They want players dedicated to the game. But if I want to take a month off as like a reset, I don't think I'm going to be capable of doing that. Some of the best finish limits have changed as well, so maybe I'm a little bit over-exaggerating here. But it just feels like you're going to need to constantly grind the game to maintain this 75th slot. Imagine getting 76th. Imagine being 76 at the end of the season. You get 76th. Like, come on. Really? That would just suck. You know, especially if like 1 or 2 points off. Or you end up getting like 700 championship points and you're and you're still 1 or 2 points off. Like, that's gonna suck. Okay? This is also now, because this is also just a commitment now. It's no longer do what you need to get to your 500 or do what you need to get to your championship point bar, and then you're good, you can stop, you don't need to spend more money, and you can save your money for the World Championships. Like this last year, right? I hit my 500 point bar. I said I'm stopping so I can save up and I can get to the Hawaii World Championships. I can't do that anymore. There is no bar to hit. If I hit like 75th in the world and I don't go to North American International Championships, I'm pretty much done, right? Now, I really hope there's no event registration limits that are really going to affect this, because if there's like last year and people do not get into the North American International Championships, that could potentially change. That's going to make or break their season. If stuff like that starts happening, that is a huge, huge problematic change. I don't think they can cap these things. They can't cap the events if this is how they're going to approach this. But the problem is, I'm pretty confident they're going to cap these events. So that's the first major change here. It is a limited invite structure, meaning you are guaranteed, we know the set number of invites. There is going to be 75 invites from North America in the VGC Masters division. That is what we're at right there. That's the first big change. Now we've got challenges and cups. We hinted about this earlier in the previous video where they announced that Premier Challenges and Midseason Showdowns were being getting rid of. Challenges and cups, they are now best finish limit of 4. Last season they were 6, so down to 4 is a change I expected them to make. But overall, sorry. League cups, nothing too crazy, right? Also, only CP for top 64. They used to have CP payouts down below, but it doesn't matter. There shouldn't be. No one ever really hit them. Even the regional league cups, I guess at this point, never really got past the top 64 kicker anyways, so even if you were going to get 10 points, it just wasn't worth it. So either way, league cups are basically the same as MSS's. Those are staying the same. 50, 40, 32, 25. That all looks the same to me. Nothing fancy there. Challenges are a lot lower than the premier challenges. They're now league challenges, and it's basically everything's cut in half. Well, just the first place is cut in half, really, right? Second place used to be 16. It's now 12. First place used to be 30. It's now 15. And it used to be 12 for top 4. It's now 10. It's a little bit of a fall off, but I think as a whole it's probably a fine change because the jump from first to second was way too big before, and I don't like the way it is. So I'm happy they kind of fixed that. This is fine, especially with the limit being 4 and not needing to hit a bar. Everybody, it can lower this because everybody's earning the same amount of points from these locals, so it's not really a huge scaling thing, right? Something else that they did change is it used to only need to be 4 players to get top 4 CP at a local. Once you had 4 players, top 4 players were getting CP. They did change that to 8. So a little bit of a hurt to some of the smaller areas, smaller local scenes where they only get 4 or 5 players. They now, instead of getting top 4 points consistently, they're going to need to win to get first or second points to actually earn points from that event. That's just a minor change there. I don't think it affects too much because in events with smaller areas, eventually in a 5-person local, you're going to break through to get the first or second. But overall, it's an interesting change to make. It used to be that way. They took it away. As long as they didn't change top 8 cut, top 8 CP. They did not. Okay, we're fine. As long as they didn't change that, change back. Championships, so this is basically regionals and international championships. And we said international championships were broken. Well, welcome back to international championships being broken again, guys, okay? First place at an international championship is now a whopping 750 points. You can follow the list. I'm not going to read them all. And first place at a regional also got a buff. This buff to the top of regionals, massive. A+. A+ structure change. I like that. I think that's really, really good, right? Top 64 is now 100. Top 64 used to be 50. So top 64 being 100, A+, a little bit of heavier weights to the top. Not as much of a fall off between first and fourth anymore. I like this change. This is a good change at the top. Best finish limit is still 6, but this best finish limit is now mixed with the international best finish limit. I would have rather seen an international championship best finish limit of 1, personally. Now, granted, I'm making changes once again to a structure that may not have to happen, right? I'm making changes to a structure that I've never really competed in, so maybe I'm wrong. But I would have liked to see just 1 international. You get to go to your international challenge, and that's the one you're going to pick up, right? Now, I get it. They want people to travel. But this is now rewarding the players that can travel a lot more than the players that may struggle to get to events, right? Which is fine, right? They want people to be committed, and I get that. It's just those middle-of-the-pack players, right? Or players from regions where it's tougher to get to events. Like, they've grouped US and Canada example, right? Together, for example. It's hard to get to the US from Canada. It's not the hardest thing in the world, but it can be difficult at times, right? I would have liked to see them, maybe separate the US and Canada there. That's a minor thing. I'm not overly concerned. I'm really not complaining about that because I know there's areas that have it way worse. But that was just kind of my example that I was going off there, right? Like, the people that are closer to these regionals or that are having easier time traveling to these regionals are going to get rewarded now. And that's a little saddening, right? Because, like, I could go to 4 regionals, and that may not be enough. I may have to go to a 5th or a 6th to try and up another finish now, which is fine, right? I get it. They want Worlds to be a qualification of the best, and I get that, and I think I respect that. I'm curious to see how it does work, but there are going to be a lot of players that are struggling, and especially somebody who may not be financially able to get to these events. That's going to be a really big burden on them, right? Like, before you could block out, you could say, okay, I can budget. I need to go to 5 events, right? you could also probably just budget 4. You go to 4 regionals and, you'd be all right. You wouldn't hit your best finish limit. But with 4 regionals, you should give yourself realistic shot at Worlds. Right now, if you go to 4 regionals, you may have to go to more. There is no clear budget for this season anymore. Now, I could be very wrong. That's just something I kind of thought of. Pokemon event names. We talked about this change the last time. PCs, MSSs switching over to League Challenges and Cups. Cash prizing, I'll let you guys read on your own. I'm not too concerned about breaking down to cash prizing here for you guys. Nothing really to talk about. Travel award updates. There's a few things. I think some of I don't know if they modified the payouts here or not. I'm not too concerned. But once again, first top 8 in the rating zone are going to get travel awards, and then looks like actually in VGC the top 9 through 16 in that rating period are going to also get priority registration, so they won't miss out. Once again, this one's weird. I want to talk about this. Like, if you're 9th through 16 in the rating zone, chances are you're qualifying for Worlds anyways. So the priority registration on these massive events, you're potentially, as long as this, I like this. Top players need to compete. Don't get me wrong. Right? Top players need to compete. That's a good change. But they better not limit events at this spot, because if someone at like 75th in the rating zone, let's just say, tries to go to NAIC and can't get into NAIC because there's priority registration here, that hurts. Now, granted, I think the priority registration is an A+. Treat your top players well. I respect it. But this cannot come at the expense of a middle ground player. That's where my issue is, right? Like I said, if I'm at 74th and the 9th place person is getting into the NAIC to compete to go to Worlds, and I get knocked out of NAIC because of their spot and we hit cap, that's a little rough around the edges, right? I respect treating the top players well, but I think at the same time you need to give up. You need to say, hey, this better not come at the expense of a middle ground player here, right? And I think that's where we're gonna have to wait and see. I don't know if it's gonna be that, but if they've capped events again, something like that is going to happen, and it is going to suck. But that's just a quick brief on that. Adjustment to the Swiss rounds. This is massive. Okay, this needs to be discussed. So, for special championships, regional championships, ICs, world championships, we played on a more conventional Swiss round count plus an additional round. So, basically what's happening is we're going to probably sit between 513 and 1024. I'll look at it based off of this. And we have day 1 Swiss of 8. Day 2, to make it to day 2, you need 18 points. We cannot tie. That is going to be 6 or 2 or better. 6 or 2 or better now gets you to day 2 of a regional. And chances are it's going to be 3 rounds the following day. And they are adapting what I believe is the Worlds format with the asymmetrical top cut, meaning all X whatevers will make cut, right? Basically, so all Swiss rounds, once Swiss is completed, the top 8 competitors plus the competitors with the same number of match points as 8th place. So if 8th place ends up being 11 rounds, 8th place ends up being 8 and 3, all 8 threes will actually make it into a chance at top cut. And then they will play out all the way up to a maximum of 32. So it's either going to be a hard top 32 cut, or it's going to be the same records as 8th place, which is honestly a good change. That eliminates the bubbling. That eliminates going 8 and 3 and bubbling out of 8th and not having a chance to compete anymore. I like that. That is an A+ change, right? There's some good changes in here. I know I'm talking a lot of things about like, oh, this sucks, but there's some good changes in here, like this one. That is a very good change, right? I'm not sure how I feel about the change into regional rounds yet, like the number of rounds, but I think overall this makes up for that. I think this is a much, much more justified system. This is a system I was looking for a while. At-home competitions, basically they've said there's going to be a lot more global challenges. This is good and this is bad. If you are like me and the global challenge stresses you the hell out, well, then it's a little unfortunate. But as a whole, I think having more global challenges is huge. It definitely helps out the players that can't afford to travel. Does kind of help fix some of the issues from earlier. Now the problem is you're not able to travel anymore. You get more global challenges, but these global challenges are best of ones. They're not great. The best of one closed team sheets, unless they find a way to like reintroduce like a players cup sort of thing. That would be fun. Have like a couple players cups midway through the season. That would be a very good change, I think, in my opinion. And then you can give an auto invite from like the winners of players cups. That would be very cool if they went back to something like that, as opposed to all this online circuit being hard global challenges. because it doesn't look like they're going to actually give us anything like that. So it's fine though. More global challenges is still a plus. More opportunities to earn points from not having to travel is always going to be a W. Never been a huge fan of the global challenge system, but any points is points, I guess, especially when it's only top 75 competing. Regional championships. This is the list of regionals right now, guys. This is unupdated. There are going to be more. It only goes to December. There will be more. I'm not going to go through them. Once again, link down below if you guys are looking to go through this list yourself. International championships. We get the 3 of them. We get the quick schedule. Basically, North America last once again in June. I believe that's the New Orleans site. New Orleans, London again, and looks like actually this time Sao Paulo, which is a pretty cool change. I'm still disappointed that Oceania doesn't have their IC back. I was really hoping that was a minor thing that they would bring back in the future for that region, but unfortunately it just doesn't look like that, and that's kind of sad there. Other than that, though, that does get us to the bottom of the list. Some massive updates, right? Just the biggest one being 75 players are qualifying for Worlds from the US Masters, right? It is now a set number. Whatever that set number is for your region, that is what you qualify for. There's plus, there's minus. I kind of gave most of my thoughts. I'm very curious on everybody else's thoughts down below. Please, please, please let me know what you think. Curious if you think this is going to be a good change or a bad thing. Once again, I'm trying not to bash the limited invites too hard because, like I said, they want Worlds to be exclusive. They want Worlds to be an accomplishment, right? But at the same time, I think they may have had better ways to do that. Like if they want Worlds to be exclusive, raise the bar, right? The 75 invite is going to suck, right? Having that certain number of people invite sucks, right? There is no, I just need to get to here. You can't map that out anymore, you know? Like I could map it out. I could be first for the longest time. And then all of a sudden just 75, I decide to, I don't need to go to NAIC, and then all of a sudden everybody passes me and I fall off. Obviously, first to 75th is an exaggeration. That's never going to happen. But I could be 60th going into NAIC. One bad tournament, goodbye, right? And it puts a lot more pressure on those bigger events, which is maybe fine. But anyways, I don't want to get into it anymore, guys. That's the circuit changes. That's what the circuit for 2025 is looking like. If you guys do enjoy this type of content, please feel free to leave a like and subscribe. It really does help out the channel. And of course, I really do appreciate it. But with that, I'm going to get on out of here. And I'll catch you all in a future video.